Hawley obliterates woke professor in Senate meltdown.
Do you believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think women can get
So you are
pregnant.
denying that trans people like this?
And that leads to violence? Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you? Or
Watch as Senator Josh Hawley clashes with a law professor in a fiery Senate hearing, igniting a viral showdown over gender, biology, and abortion rights.
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy.
So that doesn't mean a man can get pregnant. Just because some women don't have the ability to get pregnant doesn't mean a man can get pregnant. It's so freaking ridiculous. You see, I mentioned that last time. They always go to these extreme cases to try and prove their argument. No, it's factual that men cannot get pregnant.
There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
so this isn't really a women's rights issue. It's a.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also.
Well, yeah, I mean, it does. It does. It truly does. Because if men start going into women's places and women lose the ability and their own protections because now there is no way to identify a woman, then being a woman is no longer a protected class, which it absolutely is in the United States.
So recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up
Yeah.
How is it transphobic? They're talking about men.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because it's basically targeting men that are transitioning into women because they can't get pregnant.
Well, when they transition, you can have an appearance like a woman, but you'll never be a woman on the inside, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just the appearance-wise that they can look like a woman, but they can never be a woman.
But anytime, like that's the thing, anytime you use science or a rational argument, it's considered to be hateful because you're being transphobic, because in scientific terms, it doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. It's just, it's a mindset more than anything. And it's tragic. It's tragic that some people feel like they're trapped in their own body. It's tragic that some people feel like they don't belong. But sometimes it's about just accepting yourself for who you are. Yes, these people have existed throughout time. People who dress up as like guys who dress up as women. Yeah, cross-dressers.
Ladyboys.
Yeah, people who just feel more comfortable identifying with the other sex. I mean, it's been here throughout
And drag queens.
time. Yeah, drag queens. I mean, you had Joan of Arc, who was basically a tomboy. You've had these people throughout time. Absolutely throughout time. But for some reason, now it's this huge issue. No. It's just like everyone's own personal sex life. You keep it to yourself. I hate it. Ever since it started getting westernized and being pushed out so publicly, you got like rap, pop, rock, all these songs starting to talk about their exploits. That then this small little 0.5% of the population, less than that, well, it's actually grown since mental illness has really exploded here in the West, but they all felt like they were basically being marginalized. That then you ended up getting these gay pride months because it's like, oh, if you guys are going to be singing about this, then we need to be recognized as well. And then that gay turned into, and now it's turned into this weird rainbow of a situation. The entire alphabet community.
Entire alphabet.
Yeah, it's the alphabet community. It's LGBTQ plus. I mean,
it's LGHDTV.
Yeah, LGHDTV. Yeah, it includes everything now. It includes every letter of the alphabet, and it's insane. It shouldn't.
people to violence by not recognizing them.
Wow, you're saying that I'm opening up people to violence by asking whether or not women are the folks who can have pregnancies?
So I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide. So I think it's
What's
important-
that got to do with getting pregnant?
Well, a lot of that is so
Their
1 out
gender
of 5.
dysmorphia thing.
Yeah, 1 out of 5 regret their transition. Well, actually more
Because they
than
have
that.
to be on the pills for the rest of their lives. And those pills have side effects. And because it's not your natural body, you're basically manipulating your body to be something that it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah. It's America has 50 plus genders. I listened. I am correct. Well, yeah. I'm sure a lot of people believe all that.
It's not LGBTQIA+. It's LDHDTV.
It's just the
all
alphabet
that I know.
community. Yeah, I can't stand. I can't stand these types of people. I really can't. They weaponize everything. It's the what is it where you accuse others of what you yourself are doing?
Hypocrisy?
No. Because it diverges like, so she's accusing him of inciting violence by calling out the truth. But by her basically saying he's inciting violence by just stating facts,
Yeah,
she's
that's
allowing
hypocritical.
she's allowing her audience, her mentally deranged people that follow her to think that, oh, since he's being violent, I can be violent.
Yep.
But a lot of people don't see that.
My line of questioning? So
Because-
we can't talk about it?
Because denying that trans people exist and pretending not to know that they exist.
I'm
is
denying that trans
dangerous.
people exist by asking
Are you?
you if you're
Are
talking
you?
about women
Are you?
having pregnancies.
Do you
What
believe
is she
that,
talking
men
about?
can
Like,
get pregnant?
he asked her if men could get pregnant. And she's like, oh, you're just refusing the existence of trans people. And it's like, no, he's not.
No, like that's the thing. The questions he asked have nothing to do with the trans community. Absolutely none. Absolutely none.
No, I don't think women can
So
get
you are
pregnant.
denying that trans people exist?
And that leads to violence?
Let them make their society in the asylum. Asylum? Yeah, I think that's asylum. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. But the thing is, like, so in the 1970s, 1980s,
80s.
the asylums were all closed and they kicked all the crazies out into the public because they did an investigation and found out that in several of the like biggest asylums, mental institutions, they had nurses, doctors, orderlies, whatever, taking advantage of the inmates. Like doing heinous things, and that those people, like, they literally had the crazies running the crazy box. That's how bad it was. So they ended up closing doors and putting the crazies who were running the crazy box in prison for a period of time, and we've just never reopened them. And they should be opened. They absolutely should be. People should be analyzed. People should be instructed. People should be absolutely medicated. Like, I'm not the all for medicating, but at some point, some people just can't realize their own faults. They just can't. Like, I know my own shortcomings. I know my own issues. Like, I don't need to be medicated
But
for
you
'em.
don't give it a term and then ask people to respect you for it.
Oh, yeah.
That's
No,
basically
no.
what they do. They come up with a new term every day and they're like, oh, these people exist and we need recognition and you need to respect us for that. Because if you don't, then you're whatever phobic.
Yeah. It's, oh, yeah. I guess, like, and everyone does have biases. But the thing is, I could easily be friends with someone who's has gender dysmorphia. I could easily be friends with someone who's transitioned. I could easily be friends. The thing is, if they make it the cornerstone of their life, I can't be friends with them.
Yeah.
If I can't tease them about them being uncomfortable with who they are, I can't be friends with them. Because I'm comfortable with who I am. I prefer to be able to joke with people, to ridicule people, to whatever. I get ridiculed for being fat. I'll ridicule my friend for being fat. It just goes with the territory. Most people, especially guys, most guys who grew up being teased. We grew up knowing, like, you just get along teasing each other. Like, there's a huge change when it comes to like women friends than guy friends. You know, guys are real close friends when they spend the majority of their time just insulting each other, making fun of each other for like something that they did stupidly in the past. Girls, they bring up something in the past and that friendship is over forever. Yeah, I think that's really helpful for guys to have that kind of dynamic. The problem is a lot of it has been dismantled and shut down in like the public school system in the US, where kids no longer ridicule kids. Yes, it's bad, but at the same time, it gives those kids coping mechanisms for the workforce, for when you have a boss who's actually talking down to you and telling you things you do wrong because you're not given a trophy every time you walk into work.
It's like the chat is having their conversation.
Yeah, they're having their own conversations. Gold, silver, diamonds. I've seen all that. I'm like, dang, come on.
Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you, or are
Absolutely.
they also treated like this, where
No,
they're
they're
told
allowed
that
to
they're
question.
opening up people to violence?
We have a good
by
time in my
questioning?
class. You should join.
I bet.
You might learn a lot.
No,
Well,
I think
I
what
would
she
learn a
does
lot.
whenever a child asks her question, oh, we don't do that in this classroom. Oh, this thing is not really appreciated. That makes you look like a really bad person right now. So you need to apologize to so-and-so person for asking them this thing or behaving in this way.
Yeah. Well,
Or go to the detention thing or
Yeah.
the counseling or whatever.
Well, like Karan brings up a good point. The problem is many people don't know when they are crossing a line. That's the thing. That's why it was done in like middle school, grade schoolers, kids making fun of kids. When that gets stopped at like the infant level, those kids never growing up knowing where a line is. That anything, even saying like in Western culture, just saying the word retard to a certain group of people is triggering. I've used that word since I was a kid. Because to me, it was just like, yes, there are retards out there. There are retards out there. People have been diagnosed with mental instabilities. And it's just like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with a word. It fits the situation. I mean, there are some nations where certain curse words and absolute slurs are perfectly acceptable. Perfectly acceptable. But for me, retard was never one of those that was just like so taboo. But that's the thing. I learned where my line was at a young age. Of course, I didn't really go to school, but I had 4 brothers. Well, I have 6 brothers now, but I had 4 brothers growing up. And that's the thing. It's just like you need to learn where those boundaries are. That's why they have to do it when they're kids. Of course, never escalate to the point of violence, but calling another kid a doo-doo head and a kid crying because he was called a doo-doo head and then telling his mother that he was called a doo, that is perfectly fine. The mother shouldn't get involved and do this whole big issue about the whole thing.
I've learned a lot
I
just in this
know,
exchange.
absolutely.
Extraordinary.
Yep.
Ms. Matsky, let me ask you something. So you provide health care to women free of charge, right? Is that right?
Absolutely.
You've done this for many years.
Yep.
You have licensed medical professionals at your pregnancy care centers. Is that right?
That is correct.
And what are some of the resources that you
I would not
provide
go anywhere
for
near
women
her.
who come?
Why?
That lady, she just looks weird.
I think the black lady was the weird one.
Yeah.
She was the one with the wild eyes.
Yeah, with like drugged. You know how they are, right? Like when they have taken something and they want to appear like alert.
I'm
their
pretty
eyes
sure-
are usually white.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's self-prescribing, but no, her eyes were like that of the crazy, where their eyes are just like popping out of
And
their
she
head.
was really triggered.
Yeah. Well, of course, she was
That's
never told
one
no
thing
growing up.
that I always find like funny. If somebody calls you something, like people have right to call you whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just go and say, "Oh, you're not allowed to say that to me." But the instant you react to that thing, you become that thing. So, for example, if somebody calls me a retard, I'd be like, "Okay, it's your opinion, it's whatever." But the moment I find it offensive and reply like, "Oh, how dare you call me that? You're a retard," or I retaliate in any way, I'm just validating what they just said.
Again, that has to do with, again, it goes back to like middle school. I grew up knowing if I mentioned, I grew up with 4 brothers. I knew for a fact if I mentioned something that bothered me, they'd do it even more. Like, I remember once being on a car ride, and my brothers always did something with gum that I absolutely hated. But I never mentioned it. Like, because 3 of my brothers did it. The oldest one, for some reason, didn't know this lesson. He opened his mouth telling them to stop it. The next thing they were doing was doing it nonstop, and it pissed me off. I was pissed off at my oldest brother because it's just like, dude, why the heck did you say that? You shouldn't have said that. They'll just continue to do it. But that's the thing. You learn that kind of stuff at a young age to not let people know what triggers you. Because if you could let it wash over you, you seem to not get bothered by things. But
Yeah, but I think with the gentle parenting these days,
Oh, yeah.
they're teaching kids to whatever with their triggers and to talk about them and be emotionally available, and then they're gonna justify whatever's. It's just a bunch of bullshit.
yeah, well, like I said, it's kids having kids having kids having kids that now we have great grandparents that are basically still mentally children. They never grew up. They're in like their 60s, 50s to 60s, and they never grew up.
To you in a time of need.
So-
Just give us you talked about it in your written testimony, but just give us a sense of it.
So we have 3 OBGYN doctors, 5 registered nurses, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, phlebotomists, medical assistants, and we provide prenatal care, OBGYN care. We provide pregnancy.
If you are not bullied or teased, you cannot better yourself. It motivates you to prove them wrong. This is the same point you are saying. Basically. Well, it teaches you like better coping mechanisms on how to get through life as well. Like when you're dealing with a terrible boss, how to handle like as a kid, you get taught those kind of coping mechanisms. But when you don't have those coping mechanisms, it's easy to just to break down for any random reason.
Tests, ultrasounds, well woman visits, breast exams. We provide a wide range of medical services. Yes.
So, what do you think about the DC politicians now saying that your clinic and the other 3,000 pregnancy care centers around this country are fake medical clinics? For instance, Senator Warren has said it's now more important than ever to crack down on so-called crisis pregnancy centers that mislead and deceive patients. Senator Menendez, crisis pregnancy centers jeopardize women's health and well-being, all while elevating unproven theories about birth control. Senator Warner wrote to Google asking them to censor search results for care centers like yours, saying directing women to fake clinics that traffic in misinformation is dangerous to women's health and undermines the integrity of Google's search results. Do you run a fake clinic? I mean, is that what's happening?
I knew there was something wrong with her because the moment I saw her, I'm like, I'd never go near that woman.
What the heck? Wait, well, it depends on what senators are saying that, because if that's just weird. That's insane.
Yeah, I think I watched, I don't know if it was based on a real thing or not, but there was a case where, you know how homeless women, when they get pregnant, there are like these, what are they called? The centers that provide like care for them and their babies free of cost. What are those things called? Yeah, whatever. But they were one of those things, and apparently they were like she was at the safe age to get the kid aborted. Bolty.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she was homeless. She had no money. She had no home. She couldn't provide for the kid and everything. And then the hospital basically misinformed her and everything and forced her to give birth to the baby. And later the baby was like deformed because she didn't get the care and the, you know, vitamins and stuff that was required for it because she was like homeless.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe it's one of those clinics.
Maybe. I get all what you're saying, but what if the friend or colleague keeps crossing the line after being warned and keeps finding new line to cross? Then it's not a friend. If it's a colleague, then yeah, you just have to complain upwards at that point.
Yeah, complain to HR.
But if a friend refuses to acknowledge that you struggle with some things, then you're not a friend, or they're not a friend.
Yeah.
You just have to be willing to
Cut them off.
Yeah, Yeah, there's no point in keeping people around.
Yeah, you'd rather be happy alone than be with company of people that bring you down, that trigger you every time you talk with them, and then you're sad for the rest of your day.
Yeah.
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 Get a dog.
Get a dog. Oh, a dog and cat is a heinous mix right now.
Medical care to actual women?
We absolutely do not run a fake clinic, and we have a full medical staff. Like I said, many of our medical professionals have experienced abortion for themselves, including our OBGYN doctor who used to perform abortions. So our entire medical staff is there for women, whether they choose abortion and walk out the door or whether they choose life for their baby, and we support them for years after that.
Do you think there ought to be
So the people are saying they're fake clinics because they don't push the parents to have abortions.
Yeah.
They push them to keep the children.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it is. So they're real clinics, but they don't offer abortions there. So some departments are unhappy about it.
an ideological test to be able to get medical care in this country? I mean, should we say to women, well, you have to agree with the DC Democrats' ideology, otherwise you can't go get medical care? Or maybe for you and the physicians who work at your pregnancy care center or the thousands of others across the country, should we impose an ideological test on them and say that, well, you have to agree with the DC Democrats' position on abortion or you can't provide medical care to women? Should we do that in this country?
Absolutely not.
I just want to ask in my few remaining seconds here, Miss Hawley, the Dobbs decision, as I understand it, I've read it now a number of times, it gives to voters the decision as to what laws should be pertaining to life and pertaining to abortion in all 50 states and other jurisdictions around the country. I'm just curious, do you know what percentage of voters in this country support the DC Democrats' position that they want to impose on the entire country, a one-size-fits-all rule they want to impose from the top down? Do you know what percentage of voters support their position, which is also, by the way, the same position taken by North Korea and China, other notable?
Yep. Yep. Those high control birth rate nations.
But the
Violators
birth
of-
rates are going down there. That's why they're being.
Well, now they're
Yeah,
trying
now-
to
yeah.
Because so there was this huge control over the population,
Yep.
and then they realized, like, what was it, like 10 years ago? They realized that the majority, like half their population, is in the elderly phase, is gonna die off in like 5 to 10 years, like something like that, like 20 years, because they were all like 70s and 80s was like half their population. That they started to encourage higher birth rates because eventually the entire thing is gonna collapse
Yep.
because half the population is gonna die.
Yep.
Rights. Do you know what percentage it is?
I know that nearly 90% of Americans oppose abortion in the third trimester. The number that would support abortion up to the moment of birth has to be minuscule. It's a horrific policy.
Yeah, I mean, based on the most recent Harvard poll that was just released just a few days ago, it less than 10% of voters say that they would support abortion into the final month of pregnancy, and yet that is the law that the DC politicians want to impose on every voter in America, to take this away from the people, take it away from my state, take it away from all the other states and the voters in the states, but impose this law uniformly that is not supported by 90% of the American people. Talk about anti-democratic. At the same time, they want to shut down 3,000 pregnancy care centers all around this country. That's radical. Thank you for being here.
Dang.
Do you believe that?
That's just crazy though. That kind of nonsense. The fact that this kind of stuff is we're dealing with, like, especially in like our Senate hearings and having all that stuff being.
I don't think you guys did that because in India, I think there's a movie about it or a documentary or something. Like in 90s, 60s, 70s, they would like forcibly take guys and, do the,
castrate.
yeah, to control the population.
Yeah, that
and
didn't
then
happen
India, basically, there was like a law where you're only allowed 2 kids if you want to
humans
hold a
aren't dogs.
government job. But then, like, there are certain communities which believe that children are gifts from God, and so for them, those rules didn't apply. So, like, now the Hindu households have a maximum 2 kids, while the Muslims go on to have like 15 to whatever number of kids, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah, that law was never passed here. That's why you have families. Some will have small kids just because they don't want to deal with.
Yeah, but the thing is, they still get government jobs. The people that have more than 2 kids, they still get, because, in our religion, kids are a gift of God, and, you know, you're basically trying to interfere with the God.
Again.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Gandhi government.
Yeah, again, the whole thing is so stupid. There should not be, especially like in India, like in China, there was a law where you're only allowed to have 1 kid.
Yep.
Politicians were allowed to have 2. That's how it was in China for the longest time. So there was an encouragement to be in the political party because, well, again, the abortion rates were incredibly high because everyone wanted that son. But yeah, I mean, but the entire nation had to obey that. But then you get to a place like India where everyone had their own separate code, and that just sounds absolutely barbaric. I'm glad that there's a civil code now, which is basically everyone's held to the same code.
Yeah,
for now.
But they still have
Of
like their
course.
religious
Of course,
groups and stuff.
there should not be any religion that is above the rule of law in a nation. Like I've said before, like again, some nations still do it, but we'd still have heinous, barbaric tax for like people who cause a crime. You would get stonings, people losing their hands for thieving, which stonings still happen places in the world.
Yeah.
You would get hangings, lynchings, you would get whippings, which still happen in places of the world. You would get crucifixions. Just look at everything that's happened in any kind of biblical text, in any kind of religious text.
Oh, and guillotined.
Yeah, well, yeah, the guillotines, yeah. And you would easily see that all those are incredibly barbaric practices. Just because it's in a religious text doesn't mean we have grown past that. But some people still want to believe everything, every heinous thing that's in a religious text. Even though we've modernized and have grown up as a people, some people still want to be barbaric.
Like, I understand if it's like a remote area and they don't have access to those things, but I'm talking about like the city people that are still doing those things.
Yeah.
And believing in those things and not really caring about things.
No religion should be above the law or humanity. Exactly.
Because like I know there are certain like marriage acts and, you know, special community acts that are provided by the Constitution to the people, like minority people. And like even like they have Hindu marriage acts and Muslim marriage acts and all those things. Like I studied a little bit of it, but
Idiotic
yeah. But it's just so weird. Like the law should be the same.
for all.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you're human. You shouldn't be deprived of a basic human law just because you belong to a certain community.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. If the man of the house doesn't like that his wife can talk back to him, go to a nation where that would be absolutely not allowed, and you can stone her or whip her or behead her because it's your right as the man. I mean, it's just it's insane. It's insane. Just ask people in India who are trying to make a baby, but all the failing and chemical research of independent investigation shows very big things in WHO. Oh, WHO?
Yeah, World Health Organization.
Oh, okay. World Health Organization and other simple medicines. Okay, so it just makes things worse. You and I agree on this, but the average Indian lawmaker and judge are DEI final boss. Yeah. I really think, especially in India, it's not the DEI, it's the fear. They're afraid of going against, because politicians and religions.
Well, that's the thing. The majority religion is always scared to offend the minority religions. That's always
Well-
been the case because they don't want to come across as being like extremist in their things, so they just let go of things that they were supposed to protect.
It's not that. It's like the same thing that's going on with Minnesota now. It's the silent or the incredibly loud minority that the judges are afraid of. They will not pass the laws or the bills or anything that will make them feel like they'd be targeted. And like here, sure, all you'll get is a bunch of white, overweight Karens blowing a whistle in your face. In India, you'll get some angry men there to behead you or basically lynch you because you've broken their rule of law. It's far more dangerous in India if you were to go against the narrative and be like, no, we shouldn't be doing this practice anymore. Each group should be considered exactly the same. That person's more likely to drive, that he'd be more afraid to. Honestly, I think that's what it is. It wouldn't be DEI. It'd be more like they're afraid to do anything because the second they do, they'd be targeted and they're trying to protect themselves.
Yep.
It's not.
And like there was a college in Jammu, and it was called like Mata Vaishno Devi College something. Like it was based off of like a it was technically a Hindu owned thing, and it was, I think it was sponsored by the temples or the people related to it or something, but the majority of the admissions were given to the Muslims, and it had been going on for quite a while, so they decided to shut the college, and people got so upset that, oh, you're being partial, you're doing this, you're doing that, and it's like, we don't have reservations for general people in India. We don't get that privilege that other people get. Like, they can get into any colleges, anything with just minimum percentage, but you always have to be the top of the cream to be able to pursue the same degree as them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just...
Well, like that's the same thing here too, where like I would always joke with my friend, he'd most likely get hired because he's black than me, because people look at me and they're like, oh, he's white. It's all purity testing. It has nothing to do with someone's skill or talent. It has everything to do with, well, their demographic, just to tick off boxes. That's the problem with like things like that. If something wants to be created for, well, what's funny is
you know what the cutoff for the medical college admission exam is for the reserved people?
Isn't it like 83%?
It's -40.
What?
They have to score -40 to get admission, while the people, like general category people, because it's like, I think 720, it's out of 720, the points that you get. So out of 720, the general person needs to have at least like 680 or above to have seats in the same college as the child who's going to get admission there for having a marks like basically negative. And that's going to be a future doctor in India.
Yeah. Which is why you have all these fake doctors popping up left and right.
Yeah. Oof.
Look, okay. Look, world things, majority is ruling minority. Yep, that is absolutely true. But due to some elite class people from majority who become woke or power hungry, they made things which made minority the main community. Yeah. Well, it's like the same thing here in the West. It's white guilt. White people feel so guilty for their parents giving them a better life that they feel like they've been gifted everything because of the color of their skin. They refuse to acknowledge their parents worked hard for them. That these, oh my gosh, these black people, these brown people, they definitely need this white woman's support. They definitely need it because they're the inferior creature. I mean, it's so
the thing
stupid.
Is, like, the reason why in India it kind of grew out of control is because, like, and especially in like Hindu religion, like the Sanatan Dharma, it's like it's a given that you treat all the people with respect, with equality. You don't discriminate against them based off of where they come from, what kind of race they are, how much money they own, or anything. You're just supposed to
Which
treat
isn't
everybody
true.
with kindness and look at them as humans. But the thing is, people took advantage of it, and now
Well, it's not. That's tough to say because there are a ton of people who are. Well, they at least like that's the thing. You get that in like every religion where people say they're a part of the religion, but they don't actually know anything about it.
Yeah.
Like I've met people who say they're Christian, which honestly don't even know the first thing about Christianity. Like there are people who claim to be Hindu, but then they're some of the most racist and hateful people because they see as Hindus first. It's just like, but that's not the teachings. How can you be that way? But it's just like everyone has their biases. Everyone has their own faults.
and now the conditions. Oh, can you read that?
And you know what? You're the better reader than me. Okay. And now the conditions have changed. The lower class of India are in almost insane lifestyle of general, and they are getting these types of reservation. Yeah.
Well, it was funny because when I was in college, I had this button phone that my parents had given me. Like I had the screen one, but I didn't use it. And I knew a girl from the reserved
Cell phone?
class, and she had the latest iPhone.
Touch phone.
And I'm like, oh, and you know how I met her? She was filling a form for the reservation to get the money off of the college fees and to get, because she fell under a certain quota.
Yeah. System's broken.
And I'm like, you have an iPhone. You can clearly pay your fees and everything. And it was just like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Like, I don't hate her because that's probably what her parents told her to do. But it's the privileged life that they live because they're no longer underprivileged. They have more privileges than most of the people in India, like the general people
Yeah.
have. And I was just so confused. I'm like, you have iPhone. You are wearing the latest model clothes or branded clothes from head to toe. You can clearly pay your own fee. And it was, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And these people of Jammu specific girls who chant slogan of Pakistan Zindabad were suspended to pursue for their degree.
Well, there were a lot of cases of where, especially like in Kashmir areas, there was this racket going on
yeah.
where they would leak the papers and then they would like charge super extra money for the admissions and everything. So most of those people were like, they didn't have like elementary level education. Like their brain was not braining, but they were still pursuing the doctor's degree. And then the scam got exposed and a lot of people were like kicked out of the colleges and stuff. But yeah, those things happen there.
Yeah. Isn't that ironic that in religions they talk about unity and equality and justice, but that the same people go and fight or kill on the bias of religions. Yeah.
Basis of religion.
Basis?
It says basis.
Okay, thank you. Basis of religion. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like you can look back through history, like the Great Crusades, the massive Turkish invasions. I mean, you even had like the Roman Empire trying to push their ideologies. Throughout time, it has constantly happened on repeat. On repeat, on repeat, on repeat.
But can you blame them? If you were in her shoe, you would have done the same. No, I would not have done the same because, okay, so my family is like the migrant from Kashmir.
Yeah, you're like migrant
so
from Kashmir.
In certain colleges, they do have reservations. When I was going to pursue my doctor's degree,
You weren't allowed.
yeah, because it wasn't like, well, it was far, far away. But a girl who got 40% got into that university because she had the same reservation rights and there was only one seat there. But I wasn't allowed to apply because my father believes that if you're going to achieve something, achieve it on your own and not use your background as a crutch for success. So
But
yeah.
that is a good mindset to have.
Yeah.
That right there, at
So
least.
I've never really applied for anything like that, and I don't believe anybody should be given the reservation because they belong to a certain. Like that's the thing. Sure, there are some people who live in poverty and they really need it, but then do a background check on them.
Yep.
It's that simple.
It's the same issue here in the United States. So like for me, I grew up not in the best of health, and I qualified for like food stamps, for government aid, for all these subsidies from the government. But I was raised in a household where if you want to do something with your life, you have to earn it yourself. So I made sure to get a job that I could actually do. I made sure to go get degrees. I made sure to learn and go to, well, I had to do independent study because I wasn't actually physically capable to go to school. But I learned to do all that myself because I was raised properly to know, just like the same thing, you do it yourself. You don't rely. You never seek support from others. You do it yourself.
I could have been like, oh, my cousins went to this place.
Yeah.
They could go there. Why can't I go there? But both me and my brother, and we never used any of those things to get what we want in life. And like, I don't think it's a sign of weakness to use those things, but at the same time, when you have the caliber to go for it, why do you want to use something that was reserved for people like 70 years ago and use it in modern times when you have access to education, to internet, to all of those things? It's basically an excuse to not work hard.
Well, yeah, a lot of that happens because same thing here. It's like there were certain things, certain laws put in place that were literally designed for like the black slaves who had been freed. Well, we aren't going to send them back when they have children and just to keep them by. So laws were put in place that have been misused, where people will get pregnant and then fly to the U.S., have the baby, and it's like, well, my child is a U.S. citizen now, so I'm supposed to be here. And it was like, it wasn't for you. It was for those people who were brought here against their will, forced into slavery, whipped and beaten when they didn't do their job. When they were finally freed, they needed a home. So it was like, well, they were born and raised here in basically captivity. They were given the option to go home or to make a life for themselves. And most of them chose to make a life for themselves. And it's just like, but then people started misusing the law. Laws always end up being misused. Belong to Jammu and Kashmir.
What?
I don't know. Just says belong to Jammu and Kashmir.
Maybe the sentence got cut short.
Maybe.
Because sometimes when you type,
you hit send before you finish the sentence. Yeah, I try not to do that, but I do that all the time.
Yep.
And they have now come up with something called Jai Beam.
Yeah.
And they are now targeting the upper caste peoples.
Yeah. Oh, it's whatever.
Yeah.
Well, it's one thing to be proud of your community where you come from, and then there's another thing to abuse where you come from, to abuse that power to basically make everybody else's life hell.
Yeah. Again, sometimes I always think if I took the government subsidies and all that, I'd probably have a much better life.
Well, sometimes I think if I had just not listened to my father and gone to that college, I would have been some doctor in some probably not a great area because, I don't know. I would have been stuck somewhere, but yeah, I would have been a doctor.
Yeah. I think it's the mindset because us Asian don't show your cards or people or tell people how much you make in short abundance mindset and the abundance of resources. I'm not entirely sure I get it. Delhi terrorist attack involves Muslim from Jammu and Kashmir. Well, educated doctors.
I think one of them was like engineers or something.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah.
But that's what they do.
Yeah. Well, they really, of course, they're medical professionals and engineering professionals. They know how to build an explosive. That's for sure.
Yep.
That's their degree. But the sad thing is, a lot of them are like fake degrees or fake colleges.
Well,
or
they go to Bangladesh to get their doctor's degree, and then they come here to practice their doctor whatever thing, and then they get involved in these cells and whatevers.
Yeah. All right.
Well, the doctor one was the latest case. I think the one before was an engineer. Yeah, but it's all the same story.
Oh, wait, is that a video? don't forget to like and subscribe.
Wait, wait,